Okay, so welcome to the Skeletal System C. Um, we'll try to get through this as quickly as possible. Um, we've talked about the axial and appendicular skeletons. Now we're going to talk about where two bones meet. All right, so if you've got a bone on one side and a bone on the other, and they're meeting, there has to be something that goes on there in order for the skeleton to be flexible. Those are called joints. All right, where a bone meets a bone. Now, joints come in three different flavors: fibrous, cartilaginous, and synovial. Now, please be very careful because these names sound very similar to the types of cartilage that we talked about in the first video on the skeletal system. However, they are very different kinds of things. Although there is cartilage found at joints, the joint itself is not cartilage. Okay, so let's talk about what kinds of joints we have. A fibrous joint is an immovable joint, one that fuses usually very early on in life, and then uh, hardens and doesn't move ever again. All right. A good example of this is the joints in your skull that are loose during the fetal development process right up until birth, and then a few months after birth, those joints fuse. They get hard, and your skull, takes on its permanent shape. Cartilaginous joints tend to be slightly movable, and these are ones that you find between the intervertebral discs. Now, remember, the intervertebral discs themselves are made of cartilage. All right, they're fibrocartilage. All right, so the cartilaginous joints are joints that where there's a solid piece of cartilage sitting between them. Finally, the synovial joints are the ones that are freely movable. And these are the ones that you really think about when you talk about joints. You're talking elbows and knees and knuckles. All right, these are the joints that we most often think about. The ball and socket joints of your hips and the shoulder joint here. All right, knees and elbows. I think I said that already. All right, but fibrous, cartilaginous, and synovial. I did it again. Okay, get rid of that, get rid of that, and boom. Okay, so let's talk about the synovial joints more specifically, because these are the ones that we really think about when we're talking about the joints in a skeleton. And they come in a variety of different types. But a generalized synovial joint is where two long bones come together. You can see, whoops. Um, so you can see uh, a long bone up here and a long bone down here, another long bone here. And so this whole area represents a synovial joint. You can see the articular cartilage, that's this stuff in here. A small meniscus, which is a fluid-filled sac sitting in here, and then a joint cavity, which is an area filled with synovial fluid. Okay. The other interesting thing that you can see in this picture is that there are two ligaments here and here. And remember, ligaments are just connective tissues that connect joints. Connect bones one to another across a joint. Other specific kinds of synovial joints are the ball and socket. We have those in our hips and our shoulders. And then hinge joints that you see here. You've got this in your elbow and in your knee. Now, what do joints allow you to be able to do? All right, well, a flexion joint is one that decreases your angle. So here's your arm. If you bend it this way and you bend your arm toward your body, that is a flexing. If you then turn it the other way, it's an extension. Okay, so flex and extend. Adduction is when the body part moves toward the midline. So if you move your arm down toward your body, That's adduction, ADD, and then abduction, ABD, is when you move it up and away. Okay. An inversion, I'll show you a picture of this in the next slide, but this is when the sole of your foot turns inward, and so your feet kind of point, the soles of your feet are pointing toward each other, and an eversion is when the sole of the foot turns outward. Um, so this is a nice little diagram showing some of the various movements. You've got flexion and extension of your arm and your leg, and even your neck in this case. Abduction and adduction here. Abduction moving away, adduction moving toward. One that I didn't include in the previous slide was rotation. Right? Think about this. We're one of the few species that can actually turn our arms almost 360 degrees. We can also rotate them. All right. So that's called, I'm sorry, this is rotation. This is called circumduction. Okay. And then over here on the back side, you've got inversion and eversion that you can see the soles of the foot coming inward and facing each other, or the soles of the foot pointing outward and facing away from each other. Okay. Now, this is weird because I got a YouTube inside of a YouTube, but if you go to Canvas and download the PowerPoint, you can actually use the hyperlink that's shown on this slide. I don't think you can do it through this video, or you can copy it from this video and post it into a browser. But this is a Mr. Anderson video on the skeletal system, and I think it might be helpful. Okay. So that is the skeletal system. Please email me or contact me in some way if you have any questions about it. Gonna keep that and get rid of that.